Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. My name's ClaytonFilpo. Now, on today's episode of the No Saved Rounds podcast, I sat down with the Marine Rapper. Now, if you don't know who that is, I'll read a little tidbit about him. The Marine Rapper is a U.S. Marine combat veteran, is a hip-hop recording artist, and served two tours, one in Iraq and one in Afghanistan. He's got the Combat Action Ribbon in Iraq and received an award for combat photography during that same firefight. He's been featured on Apple Music, Where the Mighty, Vet TV, as well as many more. So I appreciate you guys. I'll give you a little sample right now of his music.
I fought for you all freedoms, but somehow you all thinking the military is dumb. You mess with the wrong people. America's war heroes, the reason you got freedom, the reason we got teachers like Gregory South Cedar. Now my military that you wanna diss, in front of all the students and the little kids, comparing our recruiters to some street pimps. Your mouth got diarrhea, you the dumb shit. We above the average, we multiply quick, you don't want no problems. Marine versus teacher, I'm dividing them some. I got 3 college degrees and you only got 1.
And there you go. He is one talented individual. So without any further ado, we're going to go ahead and throw it over to my conversation with the Marine Rapper. What have you been up to lately?
Okay, I dropped the album in February, working on another group album that we're tentatively dropping in April. My group is called Space Force. So it's two other military veterans. So we're like, let's name the group Space Force. It just sounds dope, you know? So we teamed up and did that. And then we did, then I'm working with other artists out here on the West Coast in San Diego, mentoring them. And when I say artists, they're all military. Like, that's just like my thing. Like, I'm making veterans successful. Cause I already dropped like 5 albums already. So I'm trying to help them.
Damn. 5 albums since, when was your first album? When did that drop?
2000 and, when was that? Okay, when I met
Was it 15? I think it was
15.
Yeah.
And then ever since, it was 15. And then ever since then, it's been like every year and twice a year.
Cool. And you've had no shortage of stuff to talk about either. That's another great part.
Yeah, it's specifically the time, man. Specifically the time. So it's been that, and then, just really trying to, and then, working with this nonprofit Bunker Labs. I don't know if you're familiar with that or looked that up.
I saw your Instagram posts of it.
Yeah.
What's that all about?
So it's a thing to where, it's a nonprofit that provides entrepreneurship and business opportunities to veterans and, you know, their collaborators, like their spouse or somebody in the military community that just wants to do great stuff for veterans. So I'm a city leader for the San Diego chapter. So like when it comes to like Bunker Labs in San Diego, I'm that guy for that.
Right. So you said that your first album dropped in 2015. And I remember that because I think the first time I met you, like we were always like online friends.
Yeah.
It was the Marine Corps Ball. Do you remember that?
Yeah, the Marine Corps Ball when we did the, it was headquarters.
Yeah.
Marine Corps Ball. Like did a little video or whatever. It was pretty cool. Like it was cool. It's actually, man, I miss that. Like actually, and not only just the Marine Corps, but just like meeting people in person. Because the internet stuff is cool. It's like a cool tool, but like as we all like found out like the hard way for some of us, like that the Instagram shortage of 2019, everybody's like, what do I do?
Yeah, man.
I have to actually work, you know, like.
Dude, that brings up a good point. I mean, we'll definitely get into, I am a huge proponent of like responsible social media usage because I feel like the road we're on right now with the platforms and stuff is a slippery slope.
Yeah, and it's gonna go away, dude. So you gotta have a plan B, C, D, and it's just how it is. It's gonna like you can't get too used to it. Like so, I have to think about it as like, you know, a relationship builder and a tool, and set up your relationship so you know when the rainy day comes and something you know blacks out, like we'll be able to back it up. That's why I still sell hard copy CDs, if that tells you anything.
Well, I mean, I think that's an art form that's starting to be lost. Like the immediacy of Spotify. Like I know you're on Spotify, which is amazing. Kudos to you for getting on that early because that's awesome, man.
Yeah, I'm on all that.
Yeah. So let's rewind a little bit because I'm sure I've got a ton of people on my channel that know who you are. And I probably have an equal amount that might not know who you are. So
we're live now, huh?
No. I was thinking about it. I was like, we could do live, but I was like, I'd rather keep it because I've been doing a couple of these now, and I was like, I think I'll just keep it to recordings for now.
Yeah.
Because one, it feels more like intimate, you know what I mean? Because when
Yeah.
there's a chat, sometimes you're like cognizant of it and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
looking at the side chat and what people are saying, and it affects you. Yeah, I feel you.
Right.
And that goes
And
back to what we're saying. Yeah.
exactly. It's just like that's an element that I think is a lot of people don't think about when they're doing the live stream podcasts, which are also great. I will probably do some of them, but so as far as like you're early on, like we're talking like childhood, I know you were a military brat.
Yep.
Tell me about that stuff. Like, how did that work out?
So basically I'm a military brat. My dad, my uncle, like every male in my family has been in the Marine Corps. I was born in the East Coast in Newark, New Jersey. If you knew where that's at, it's like not a nice place. So I ended up eventually making my way over to Oceanside with my dad, and then got stationed over there, Oceanside, California, like Marine Mecca. And then like as I grew up, I did not like Marines, because what I saw was the worst of it on the weekends. You know, when the young Marines were out in town getting drunk and just causing ruckus, you don't hear about the good Marines, because the good Marines are doing what they're supposed to be doing. You know what I mean? So you don't see them. You see those guys are with their families, or they're doing something productive, or they're having a house party or whatever. The ones I saw was the young SOI grads, not 18, 19 years old, you know, drunk, running amok out in town. Some of them never been in California. So a lot of them, you know, Marines, a lot of us like to shoot, or country boys or whatever, and, you know, causing amok and just being rowdy at the bars and stuff like that. So that was my introduction to the Marines, the Marine Corps. So I was like, man, I don't like Marines, man. And that's what a lot of people in Oceanside think. Like if you're not from the Marine family, or you're not living on base, the locals, just like in Hawaii or any other local place, or Lejeune, you're like, dude, I'm not feeling the Marine Corps vibe unless you know them, you know? So that was my sentiment. And then I ended up working at Taco Bell as a rapper, like literally like rapping tacos. And then, but that was like a little foreshadowing. And then, but I didn't get to that job yet, because when I first got there, they're like, all right, man, we'll teach you how to like do everything. And I'm like, really? They're like, yeah, after you learn how to wash dishes. But the trick with that was the dishes were Tom and Jerry high. You know what I'm saying? So I realized every night I would be washing dishes, and I wouldn't be done with these dishes until my shift was over. So I couldn't possibly learn anything from the manager to, you know, level up. So I'm at Taco Bell as a dishwasher, and I'm like, yo, what the heck, man? And then I was like, you know what? All right, Ray, you're smarter than this, dude. Okay, if you want them to teach you how to learn to cook and all that and be a manager, you have to be faster at washing dishes. So I ended up being like really fast. You know what I mean?
So
and that was
how does that? It's so how do you go from Taco Bell to the Marine Corps though? Like where? Like how does that happen?
Yeah. So what happened was I ended up being really quick, really fast. And then I was just like, I think this is where I started like having the hunger for more or whatever, you know, started being really quick. And then I ended up, they had no choice. They're just like, okay, we'll teach you how to cook food or whatever. Right. And on the food line, you go like outside to in, like you learn how to like bag first, because you can't touch the food first. You know what I mean? You learn how to bag first, then like to wrap, and then to like actually stuff the ingredients inside of the food. And then the cook who keeps all the meat hot. If you're in charge of the meat, you're the man, you know what I mean? And then after that, it comes, you're the manager or a shift manager and things like that. So I made my way up the ranks, you know, doing drive-through and all types of stuff. And I learned everything and learned how to deal with money and stuff. And then after a while, I was just like, man, I need more for myself. So I ended up going to college, like right after, because this was like when I was like 16, 17, and then went to college for 2 years to become like a drafter, because I draw, like I'm an artist. Like I'm gonna tell you another story a lot of people don't know about me, but I'm an artist, right? But at the time, ITT Tech, I don't know if you heard those commercials on TV. At the time, they were trying to get everybody in there to do drafting and all that, and they got me, and I went in there to do drafting. And ironically, my teacher was a Marine. But I wasn't a quitter, so I had to finish like the drafting stuff. And so I finished that out, and then I tried to get a job in drafting, and they said I was overqualified. And I'm like, yo, let me just do something to where I can just, you know, pick up the trash or something. Like, no, you're too qualified. You're too qualified. You're overqualified. You can't work here. And I'm just like, man, what am I gonna do? I started reaching rock bottom, And then I said, hey, I'm gonna join the military. And then I thought, hey, if I'm gonna join the military, I'm gonna join the Marines. So I kind of reached a point to where I was like, it doesn't matter, what I grew up with. I'm gonna go check out the Marines and see what they're about. And then I liked what they're about. And I told my recruiter, I was like, hey, recruiter, I need to do something that has like entertainment, because I was starting to get into rap, but I wasn't any good. Like I was just like into it. And she's like, entertainment? She's like, here's public affairs. Now get the F out of my office. And then I shipped the boot camp. She didn't even tell me she's doing the ASVAB or anything. I just went to the office, did the ASVAB. I got a 79, but I didn't study at all. Like I knew I could have got way higher, you know what I mean? But I didn't study at all. I didn't even know. She's like, we're just gonna go to this office and take this test. And I guess she already knew that I'm not dumb. So she already knew that. So she's like, oh, okay, well, we'll just take you there, do the ASVAB. I ended up getting a 79, like no studying or nothing. And then she's like, oh yeah, this is good enough to get in pretty much anything or whatever. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And anyways, so when she said get the F out of my office, she gave me public affairs. Anyways, so I go to boot camp, and of course I go to boot camp on the West Coast, right? In San Diego, not too far from Oceanside where I grew up. All the drill instructors were messing with me. They're like, all right, Hollywood, you know what I mean? I know you want to go home. Like, so not only are they totally ITing me, I don't know if your audience knows IT, but intensive training, not totally ITing me. Not only are they like pushing my limits, but mentally, on top of all the other mental stuff that they're doing, they're also like, yo, we know everything about you, and we know you can just hop over that fence, and we know where you live, because they read my my files and stuff. And I'm just like, and of course, when I'm doing push-ups, I'm not thinking putting two and two together. I'm just stressed out. I'm like, man, I'm hungry, dude. Like, damn, man, just leave me alone. Push up, push up, push up. And then I'm like, how are they knowing everything about me, man? And then, but I had an interesting boot camp. And then after that, I just got in the Marine Corps, and as a public affairs professional, as a combat correspondent, I actually wanted radio. Surprise, right? I really wanted radio, but I didn't get it because I mispronounced the word ask. So
that's crazy.
So you won't ever hear me do that, ever. And then you won't ever hear me and then if you listen to some of my songs, you'll hear me say ask, but rapping really fast, just to show that I can do it. You know what I mean? So if you hear me say ask, it's because of that. So now you know when I say ask in a rap, that's why, because I got rejected from radio. They noticed that I was in shape. They're like, hey, man, you run fast. And I'm just like, yeah. They're like, oh, we got the perfect place for you. It's going to be awesome. You're going to love it. It's going to be in California. We're going to love it. I'm like, all right, what is it? They're like, 1st Marine Division. You're going to love it. Trust me. And at the time, I didn't know what 1st Marine Division was. And everybody else is getting Iwakuni, Japan, and going overseas and going to radio, broadcasting and stuff like that. I'm like, man, what the heck? All my life, I was told, hey, I had to deal with racial stuff because they feel like a black man should have an accent or whatever. I don't have any accent. I got made fun of because of the way I spoke. And I was like, oh, I'm a shoo-in for radio. And then I don't get it. So I'm really totally pissed. I'm like, I went through all this bullying through my whole life because they said I sounded, whitewashed or whatever, or like a white dude or whatever that is, So, or, California, surfer dude, that vibe. So I always got teased as a little kid for that. And so I'm like, this moment will make it worth it if I'm able to be radio, Robin Williams, And then, I thought that was going to set me up for later on, do the rapping thing. Didn't happen. But ironically, everything did work out how it was supposed to work out. But because my rap's way more interesting now, yeah, because if I was sitting in the office talking about I was in a hut in Iwakuni, that's not really the most interesting thing. But 1st Marine Division, for those of you who do or do not know, is infantry. So I ended up getting attached to an infantry battalion, my mom's worst fear, because all of my uncle, my dad, they were all with infantry, because my dad was artillery, ended up over there, combat arms, and then my uncle infantry, 0311, and then just everybody in my family, my cousin, he was retired. He did 20 years. He was with every unit too, all types of ground units. So it was her worst fear, and I ended up going. But I'm totally glad, and I don't take none of that back, because I was just the right guy, and it was just the wrong time, but I was always there, and luckily I survived all these times. I took some pictures along the way, but all those experience and all that experience storytelling in the Marine Corps, like the written form, was able to translate into the audio form to the rapping that I do today. And now I have like, not only like I have proof, the pictures, but people who are alive that are like, yeah, he was there. You know what I mean? So it's like, in hip hop, it's about respect, and respect is earned if you were actually at that spot that you say you were. So, and also, and then also a side note, a lot of the stuff that I know in hip hop today is because I was mentored a little bit by Ice-T. And if you know, Ice-T's an Army veteran. So Ice-T was like, I asked him, I was like, hey, like, you know, what I do? And he's just like, just say something, man. You know what I mean? It sounds funny, but if you listen to a lot of rap these days, you'll know most people who are watching, you know what I'm talking about. Like, they don't say anything, and it's just like, nobody cares about your car. I'm still taking the bus. Like, why would I care about your car? You know what I mean? Why would I care about the girls or the jewels that you got? Like, it's cool. Trust me, those things are dope. But like, it's like, what issues are you talking about? Like, let's talk about real issues. And like, that's why, like, in my music, I always talk about like stuff that people can like fact check. Like, I want people to go fact check. If I'm like, hey, I was in a firefight, they can track that back to a photo that I took. When I'm like, it's Habadia, it happened during Ramadan. Like, I'm like, happened during Ramadan. This happened. We're on, you know, a left-handed shooter. We're all at the prone. You know what I mean? That photo that I posted the other day. I don't know if you saw it. Like, I have proof, you know? So it's kind of like, I love that. I like music like that. I love things that are real. Like, that's just my taste. Some people like imaginary stuff. It's cool. But like, when you're talking about hip hop and when you're talking about real storytelling, for me, the best storytelling comes from an authentic place or experience.
Yeah. And see, that's how I knew back in 2015 that you and I would get along, because I could see two things. One, I saw that you were rapping from experience and it had heart, like it actually had substance to it. So that's one thing. And then the other was you have no quit. So I see that and I go, all right, this dude's going to be successful. I knew that the second that you and I met, because I was like, and that's like when you started grinding on Instagram and stuff like that. And then just like you said about the schoolhouse, like when they failed you in broadcasting and radio just for ask, you know, I've got a similar story where they didn't, I went to try out for broadcasting and I literally got laughed at. They were like, no, you're no way.
You did?
Yes, sir. I'm not broadcast certified.
I would think that you would have got it. I would have thought that you got it.
No, sir. No, man. Like, and you know what that did to me? They sent me to work at with, you know, headquarters Marines and everything like that. And they put me as a website editor. And I was like, dude, fuck that. I'm not doing that. I know. It was so crazy. And then I just started like one of our guys got sick. And they were like, we need anybody. And I was like, I'll do it. I got in front of a camera. My buddy, Jimmy Shea, he's the first one that taught me how to hit record. And it was just after that, it was like that seed was planted in me to be like, I'm going to prove all those guys wrong. Right?
I think that's the best stories, though. It's the ones that didn't get picked, you know, like exactly. Michael Jordan, like a whole bunch. You can name so many people in the history of, you know, of greatness. And those individuals were the ones that were just like, they looked at them like, oh no, you'll never make it. Like, I get told, they thought it was crazy. Like, before, when I got out, I think you were it was like towards the end. I met you, it was towards the end. I went to the ball and I went to the Marine Corps Marathon and I ran that before I got out. And I did a couple things before I got out. And you were one of the last people that I interacted with before I actually got out the Marine Corps. And they're like, what are you going to do? And I'm like, I'm going to be a rapper. They're like,
they probably looked at you sideways. Man. Your first sergeant was like, you're going to be in a box down by the river.
Yeah, no, it was funny.
Oh my gosh.
And as time goes on, it like gets fun. The story is funnier and funnier, you know, because it's just like, it's so funny. Like, ended up networking with, you know, Black Rifle Coffee guys, ended up being in Range 15, doing a rap, I rapped for, you know, Matt Best and Nick Palmachado, a Ranger Up. And I don't know if I ever told you that story. No. But I rapped for them when they came to LA and Hollywood. And Matt's like, what's your name? I'm like, the Marine Rapper. And he's like, no, for real? What? You're a rapper? I was like, yeah, for real. And I was like, I'll rap for you right now. You want to hear something? So I rapped like 2 minutes straight. And he's like, oh, send me a song. And that's how it happened.
That's dope.
Yeah.
So how do you go from, being stationed on the West Coast and then the deployment? So I believe you did what, 2 deployments? How does that?
Yeah.
Walk me through that real quick.
So basically, being a combat correspondent that's attached to an infantry battalion, and I know you, I mean, I'm not sure if Jimmy got attached to people, but I know Faye Loga got attached to people. So he could, same type of story. I was stationed in Oceanside. I was stationed in Camp Pendleton near Oceanside, and I was attached to 1st Marine Division. So my home base was the headquarters of 1st Marine Division. So I was like an asset with the infantry battalion in the division. So when they had an infantry unit that was about to go out, they're like, hey, 1st Marine Division, we need some support. We need some camera guys out here with us. We're about to go on a deployment. The first unit that said that was 3rd Battalion, 2nd Marines out of Camp Lejeune. And at the time, like I was like new straight out of the schoolhouse. I didn't have a car because like it made no sense to have a car. I didn't have anything. So they're like, okay, listen, we're going to attach you to them on Mojave Viper when they come to 29 stumps. And then from there on, you're just going to attach to them, maneuver with them so they can just get used to you being there with the camera. They'll tell you what to do. Just stay the hell out of the way and just like, do their training, just like learn your unit, see where they want you, stuff like that. So like I went through Mojave Viper, the training exercise, just to get our rhythm down so they could get used to like this guy with, I literally, you know how it is, like being the camera guy, you have more equipment than the grunt. So I'm like, I weigh 200 pounds, like at the time, you know what I mean? With all my, like my M4, all my lenses in my drop pouches. So like they had other stuff in the drop pouches. I had my lenses in my drop pouches, the long 200 lens in my drop pouch. And I'm like maneuvering with them and stuff like that. And I'm like, all right, cool. Like the next thing you're going to do is you're going to go to their home base. So then I just went from, I think I maybe did a day or two, grabbed my stuff, and then went to Camp Lejeune, stayed with them for like a year on the front and the back end. And then we went to Iraq together, did operations near Fallujah. And that's it. I was like an independent operator. Like all I did was I had to look for stories. So they're just like, hey, camera guy, just keep yourself busy, man. Because if you don't have a camera, you're a grunt. So,
right.
So that's how it was.
So like, I imagine there has to be some sort of parallel to be drawn between earning respect in the rap scene and earning respect among a bunch of infantry dudes. Because I mean, anytime I've ever been with the infantry or the recon, you have to earn the respect. They are definitely not just going to give it to you. So like, tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, it sucked, man. Especially because like, and you hear my music, I have to talk about like demographics and race and like, it seems like I talk about it a lot, but it came up a lot because you're with the grunts and statistically a lot of those guys are country boys. And I'm a city boy. I'm a black dude, city boy, from the East Coast. And so I'm the polar opposite of these guys. Not only polar opposite physically and aesthetically, but like my job. They don't trust me. I'm an outsider. What am I doing there? Why am I taking pictures and asking so many damn questions? And then on top of that, they have to deal with whatever the first sergeant told them to do. They don't like me. You know what I mean? So I don't blame them. So it was a polarizing experience at first until I proved myself. Because the second deployment wasn't as hard because by then I already had like paid dues. So I could have been like, hey, I did hundreds of stories. I could say that. I couldn't say that before. Before I was like, hey, I promise guys, like I did well in school. Like nobody wants to hear that BS, It's like you can get somebody killed. We don't care. We don't like you. You don't look like us. You're a pogue. Get out of here. You know what I'm saying? So so basically the experience was very like eye-awakening, and it taught me actually one of the craziest things. It taught me how to be understanding of different people from different cultures and learn how to talk to people who do not want to talk to me and learn their language. So like I got very good at persuading people to talk to me in hard situations. I know there's a lot of situations where they're tired. They just got back from patrol. The hardest situation was when we just went out, one of their buddies just died. They know I know this, and I have to ask them how they feel about it. And they were like, what the, you know what I mean? So it was weird. It taught me things, but it also like hardened me and like made me a little bit more frigid in that, because I had to be, and like when you're in a lot of situations as a reporter, you can't have feelings in it. You just have to ask the question. You just have to ask the question. And so a lot of times I would ask them that question. But today they are very thankful, because if it wasn't for that moment, they wouldn't have that piece of history, that normal reaction, that natural reaction that they gave at that point in time, to where they can go back on and be like, because that freaking Pogue reporter, whoever that was there, he was taking a whole bunch of pictures. Now I can, keep the memory of my buddy alive now because he asked me these annoying questions at the time, Right. So it was a learning experience, like on top of all the Marine stuff and, the toughness physically and mentally. It was another layer psychologically, because I had to learn somebody, a grunt. I had to learn how grunts speak, how they talk, how they do everything to get the job done. My gunny didn't want to hear why I didn't have the story. Because I can't get along because we're not from the same place. No, F that. You know what I'm saying? Like, he wants to know where the story's at. He wants to know where the pictures are at. There was a funeral service. Why don't I have any pictures of them crying? Like, literally, it's like, it's sad, but that's what we need. That's what they needed to have. So when they send it back home, they're like, okay, the Marine Corps, took care of A, B, and C. Nobody cares about my feelings. You know what I'm saying? So it's less like something I had to learn. But I'm so happy that I had to, to serve and to give up a little bit of my dignity and my shame in those moments for a bigger purpose.
Right. And then being a creative as you are, and being well versed in photography and video and a lyricist and writing, I mean, like you said in the beginning, it's kind of like the perfect storm that kind of happened for you. And in a lot of ways, in my opinion, man, I love public affairs, combat correspondent, whatever you want to call it, being a creative person. And when you put a creative person in an adverse situation, it's the best thing, because like you said, you got that documentation, you have exactly how everybody felt, you have the raw imagery of what was happening there. And then when you come back and you exit the Marine Corps, now you're out here telling everybody the truth, like speaking your truth. And you, like you said, you got the documentation to back it up, which is crazy.
Yeah, which is crazy. I'm very lucky. I gotta say, I'm very lucky, and I also feel like it's a burden that I have, that I bear. I don't know how to put it. Like, it's kind of something. I don't know if the burden is the right word. I need to find like a synonym for it. But I think it's a responsibility. That's what I mean. Yeah, I feel like I have a responsibility because I ended up being alive in a lot of situations where I know I shouldn't have been. I mean, there's been plenty of times to where I was supposed to go out and I didn't, and somebody died in that patrol, things like that. And I'm just like, or where I was supposed to be sitting, someone died. Get what I'm saying? So it was like stuff like that came. I was just like, bruh. And I'm like, I have to be here for a reason, that because I'm not supposed to be the hero. I'm not trying, and in my music, I'm not trying to be the hero. Like, I'm trying to make a soundtrack and theme music for the hero. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm always trying to do that. And in there, I have fun, and I say, hey, I can say this because I'll say that, and then nobody can really dispute it because it's been almost 5 years and it hasn't been debunked. You know what I mean? So obviously, you know what I mean? And sometimes people will go, are you a Marine for real? And then I have, that's why you see me here and there. I post a Marine picture here and there because people forget. Right. Or they don't believe it. And they're like, oh, snap, like you did a little bit. And I was just like, yeah, a little bit. But it just, I just feel the responsibility to carry on the memory of these individuals, because I always go, dude, man, that dude who got shot, man, that was the man. Like, I'm not. Like, yo, like, what? You know what I'm saying? I'm not it. Like, I'm not. Like, I'm. You won't ever. You know what I mean? You know Clay, man. Like, I'm like the same dude. Like, I try to be the same dude like that you met, that you see online. You don't hear, if you ever hear me like talking like too crazy or too big, let me know. I try to be cool. When you message me, I don't act brand new. I'll be like, you're like, hey man, let's do this interview. I'm like, yeah, man, I got you. I'm not like some people, unfortunately, I'm like, yo, dude, it's only been a couple years and like we're not special. We're all human. Like, dude, like it's either you have time for me or not, you know? But like
Right.
that's why I just feel like everybody should treat each other better and just appreciate certain things and realize that we have a responsibility to certain individuals in this world and we have to carry on their legacy in whatever we do, whether it's, you know, broadcasting, gaming, streaming, making music, making movies or whatever. We have a responsibility and I feel like we should carry on that responsibility and not lose sight of that.
No, I agree, man. I think it all comes back to speaking your truth and speaking from experience. Like for me, for example, I'm one of those Marines that when I joined, it was on the drawdown of everything, and that there's a whole generation of Marines who have not deployed or will not deploy, and that's like a weird spot to be in because, as you know, like deployments are kind of like a badge of honor, and I've always been the kind of guy that like I don't speak out of term. I always make sure that when I'm communicating, like I'm communicating from a place of like truth and realness. And what irks me is the dudes that go on, especially online, and they go and they talk about shit that they have no business talking about. That pisses me off, man. And the last thing I'd ever want to be is a dude that's like not like doesn't have integrity. That's my biggest value. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah. So I feel like okay. So first deployment is in the books, right?
Yeah.
You come back to West Coast. You come up on orders. Do you go another place? How'd that happen?
Come back to the West Coast. I kind of like no. I come back to the East Coast.
Oh, right.
Go back to Camp Lejeune. I have to still go out through their out processing and everything that they're doing before I can go on deployment leave. But I can't even go on deployment leave because I have to like detach and then go back to my unit, then go on leave off of you know my unit's quota or whatever, because they want to make sure that their asset is good to go. So I was good to go. Went back to 1st Marine Division, came back, did my like little leave. After I came back, I did. They're like, hey, Afghanistan's about to pop off. I'm like, and then they're like, you sure? I was just like, yeah. And so like I didn't volunteer for Iraq. I volunteered for Afghanistan though. I was like, I'll do it. And then I go to do it, and it was cool. It's very different though. Like Iraq was a lot more like, I think more maneuvering and stuff like that. And Afghanistan's like lots of more mountains. So we had to like do helicopters and a lot more convoying and a lot of different type of movement. I did what's it called? POW watch in the hospital.
Huh.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Hard, man. And I'm gonna tell you why. Because I know some things probably are coming to your head. If you're watching an enemy and you have to make sure his health is at tip-top shape, but the reason why he's in that hospital is because he laid an IED for the units that were walking through that specific path where you knew where we were operating, and we picked him up and we couldn't do anything to him because he's like, I surrender, waving the white flag. It's hard. It's just hard, man. You know, it's like, dude, you're the enemy, and because you want to give up now. You didn't want to give up when you're trying to kill, you know, staff sergeant there. But now, because of the rules, I can't do anything to you. But I have to watch you, and I have to make sure you get an apple, and I have to make sure you eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I can't do anything. And I have to make sure you're good. And then I had to turn in my rifle before we went into the hospital too. So, so it was just like, it was difficult, dude. It was so difficult. I had to do a lot of, you know, imagine like some of those guys didn't make it out of there because they passed away from self-inflicted injuries, but I had to watch everything, put it that way.
What did that, as far as like traits that it brought out in you? Because I know if that were me back at that time period, I don't know if I would have the ability to cultivate like compassion for those guys. You know what I mean? Like what happens there? I don't understand, you know?
It was just understood. Like they said, hey, listen, got to put you on that hospital detail. Dude, you can't like spaz out, bro. Like, um, this is what it is. These guys did this. They're there specifically because they did this. They were trying to kill us at the time, but it doesn't matter if they're critical condition or some of them literally, like, some of them blew their arms off because they were setting a bomb for us. Mm-hmm. And they would be like whining to the people who were in charge of the hospital were British. They're like whining to the British nurses, like, I want an apple, I want a fresh fruit, and we're in the desert. And I'm like, I like, dude, I have to be honest with you. It was very hard for me, dude. It was very hard for me. But, obviously I'm here and I didn't do anything wrong. But but when you're sitting there, you're thinking, you're just like, dude, man, like, that dude was just trying to kill us, man. And I have to watch them because they wanted to surrender. Like, it wasn't like I had compassion for them, but I just had discipline. I think the discipline is the right word, because I had so much discipline. And I mean, I feel like a lot of things that happen today is because I have discipline, only because I have that. It's like, there's a lot of things that I want to do, but I've reached back to, dude, you have way more discipline than that. You can't act like that out in the streets, man. You're a veteran. Like, you did this, no, you can't act like that. You can't do that. Like, I know there, guys in your face or whatever, or, whatever it may be. It's the discipline that can really help you. And it's just like, it's not worth it. You can call me names, whatever. I got more at stake, especially for me. Like, sometimes I have to remember, like, I'm like out there. I'm already out there, like, online and stuff. And I'm like, I'm the Marine rapper and this and that, yada, yada, yada. I can't just be acting like whatever. I can still do more than like an active duty Marine could, but I can't do something to where I'm putting like a shame or whatever to somebody, to like the Marines, because I don't want to do that. You know what I mean? There's, people can have their opinions about like things that I say. I have the freedom of speech now. I'm a veteran. I could say whatever I want to say. But like, I still have my limits on certain things that I would say or certain things that I would do, because I honestly don't feel like I went through those hard, arduous situations just to act a fool out in the streets. And a lot of times I learned a lot of, good things from my staff NCOs, my gunnies, my sergeants, first sergeants, sergeant majors. And they're like, hey, think of like the long game. Don't think of right now. They may be calling you an idiot or a moron or whatever they're calling you right now. But think of the long game right now. Because if you think of the long game and you go, hey, no, I want to be here. Does that person act like that? Oh, no, he doesn't, huh? Okay, well, then I wouldn't be doing it now. You know what I mean? So it was definitely a discipline thing that got me through the detainee hospital, POW hospital, and then wounded in action or whatever they called it. And then also, like, life today, discipline is something that really helps me.
Yeah, man. I can't imagine, like, as far as like you said, one, there was a lot of great life lessons in that. I'm going to unpack a few of them. So the one being like discipline, right? That's something that separates you from pretty much every other dude out there in the rap game, where they are getting their credit by talking about how many pistols they waved in somebody's face, how many drive-bys or whatever clout they're trying to get, right? Whereas how many of them have sat in a room with their enemy and fucking fed those dudes? You know what I mean? Like, that is real. That is a real place that you rap from. That's an amazing thing. And that determination and that grit and that foresight to be like, where do I want to be? That's something that a lot of Marines, the most successful Marines anyway, that I find, if you can carry that over to the civilian side, shit, you'll go far. You'll just go far. That's all it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
And so when you're coming out of the Marine Corps, then, right, you've got 2 deployments under your belt. Yeah, you're a seasoned public affairs dude. And now you're starting to get into rap, or how's that work out? Were you rapping while you were in the Marines, as you were coming towards the end?
Yeah, I mean, towards the end, I was kind of trying to prepare, so that's why you saw me like drop an album, and it was called in 2000. It was called Boot, the first album, and then Terminal Entry, the album cover, and all that. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna make it, but I wasn't versed in the actual business. So that's the part that I was missing. And because I wasn't versed in the business, I ended up struggling. So I ended up going back to Taco Bell, working there. But when I started working at Taco Bell, the manager was like, wait a minute, no, you're a manager. Because I had the leadership skills, you know what I mean? And he noticed that I wasn't a kid and I was just like, I showed up for work on time and like I did what I had to do. I kept everything clean, you know? He was like, wait a minute, you're a manager. So I worked a manager and I was like, this still isn't good enough. So I quit there. Then I found a local newspaper and I got a really good job at a newspaper. People don't know this, really good job at a newspaper. And I got it as an editor. And I got it just off of like the strength of my career. Wow. Everybody else was going in there saying, I have a college degree and, you know, some young, like 21, 22-year-olds. And, you know, I'm trying to get a job and I'm like 10 years experience, Marine Corps, I was shot at. And then, so they were like, oh, okay, well, I mean, that means you can handle anything, right? I was like, anything, throw it at me. They're like, you're hired. So, and I was getting paid really good, like really good. It just, but I was like, no, you said you're going to be a rapper. Get out and be a rapper. So this ain't it. So I quit that. And because and it's kind of like, you know how you said the no quit. Sometimes you have to quit other stuff to do what you were not supposed to quit at. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So I was on the wrong path. So from then I started to interview. Then, like I was like, I need to go out and do something creative. So I started interviewing like successful vets out in the community. One of them was Richard Overton, that the oldest man until a little bit long ago. So I met him. And it was the coolest thing ever, man. Like to meet him, like that's like once in a lifetime thing. That'll never happen. You know what I mean? 112 years old. I met him, got some jewels from him, met some other people. My car broke down in the Midwest. Another combat correspondent, he let me stay with him. I don't know if you know him, Zahn.
I don't know him. When did he get out?
He got out probably a little bit before me, or around the same time, but he literally went to school with me. So I went to school with like me and Jimmy and Mark and a whole bunch of people that the older people, the guys who trained you, we all went to school together. So I stayed with him for a little bit, and then I ended up getting a plane ticket with my girlfriend at the time, and then I went to Hollywood, and then like I was just like, man, I got to do something. I ended up just checking into this. It was kind of just like how Dimphos was, just how our schoolhouse was. I ended up going to this OEF like house for like those veterans or whatever. Kind of like if you're like in danger of being homeless or something. Mm-hmm. So like kind of like a dorm for younger guys. So I went there and they said you can live there for free. All you have to do is go through these classes, like psychological classes and stuff. And you just live here, and all you have to do is check in those classes. And then when you do that, just work on your disability rating and get your schooling together. So I got my GI Bill together, and then I got my disability rating, and then I'm like, I'm out of this place. I'm not staying here. Like, why would I stay here? Some people, you could stay up there for 2 years. I'm just like, nah, like that's not me. Like I used it as a tool, like to get on my feet. Got on my feet, got my own apartment in Hollywood, went to school for music production as well as music business. And then I was like, oh, this is what I was missing. And then I learned, copyrights, trademarks, how to publish an album, all of this type of stuff. And I was like, oh man, everybody's in trouble now, because that's all I needed, And then I learned like the business a little bit. I was like, okay, cool. And then I started dropping albums. And then I linked up with an Air Force veteran, and he was always in metal bands and guitars. And like before even rap music, I didn't even listen to rap music until I was 18. But before then, I'm California. So I skateboarded, rollerbladed, bike, all that stuff, BMX, dirt jumps, all that stuff. So like people don't know I skateboard. People don't know that, but that's another thing. But I listen to like a lot of grunge rock and all of that stuff, and I'm into rock. Like that's what I like. People don't know. Like the people will be like, "Who's your favorite artist?" I'll be like, "Alice in Chains." They'll be like, "What?" Like,
you can hear that in your music too. I was listening to that today, and I was like, "Yeah, we've got a lot of hints of like grunge rock, of like that Southern California. Like, there's all sorts of different rock there." But that's wild. And a lot of people I know would probably go, "Black dude, rock, what?"
Yep.
You ever get that?
Yeah, but you get respect when you're like naming off bands and you're naming off stuff. Like people are like, "Oh, okay, I get it." Like he's not like today. You notice a lot of like hip hop people will wear like the Metallica shirts or whatever. Like when I start talking, they're like, "Oh, okay." Like he's for real. He's not like a bandwagon. Like I like rock when I got bullied for it, like in school. Like they're like, you're a nerd. You're supposed to be black. You're supposed to be listening to like hip hop. And then when my mom's friend came over one time, she gave me a CD of Notorious B.I.G. And that changed my life because Notorious B.I.G. was like, hey, it doesn't matter what you look like. You can be fly if you're just confident. Like that's basically the message, you know? Mm-hmm. And I was like, what? He's all
what does
black
that say about sticking to your guns, though? You know what I mean? Like not conforming to the bullshit that everybody's trying to tell you to be.
It's just BS, and so that's what I do. That's why I do whatever. Like I'm a black dude that does patriotic music, not only patriotic music, but I do patriotic hip hop. That's alone is polarizing because hip hop is like anti-establishment anyway. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then I talk about I love America or whatever. I'm happy to be here. Like. When people know my perspective and they get it, they're like, why you wear the American flag? I'm just like, because my ancestors literally made the flag and harvested the fabric to make it. Like literally. Like, you know what I mean? I love this. I love this flag. But when you think of it like that, you're like, oh, that is true. Because it was made out of hemp, right? The first one, right? So if it's made out of hemp and the hemp that was harvested was by slaves, if you know your history, a lot of people don't even know their history. Like, so it's
that's
like
wild.
So if you think,
I never thought of that.
So if you think about it, it's like, why would you not be proud of something you made? Like what? Like, and then why would I not be happy? Why would I not say I love America when I've been to Iraq and Afghanistan and they don't love it there? They hate it. Like what? Like come on. Like really think about. Like people are like, oh man, you're just hey, you're a sellout. No, think about what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? If you go back, I don't know what you listen to, but American Thug kind of talks about that. And then the rock thing, I have a song called Pain and Waves. That's the rocker one off my new one. But like it talks about that. It's just like, yo, why wouldn't I be proud of this country? I love my country. I love where I'm at. Like there's a lot of situations to where the kid didn't even have water to drink, clean water to drink. Like a 9-year-old should not have to worry about that. Like what? Like we're worried about Fortnite over here. Like we're worried about streaming and gaming and like Twitch and like all types of stuff like that over here as a 9-year-old and flossing and dancing and dance moves and hip hop. Like they're worrying about water. And you're saying, true. And I'm crazy because I'm a black man saying I love where I live. Get out of here, man. Like
it's crazy. It's crazy that like everybody in America seems to be in this incubator, especially online, in this incubator where they're just like, I don't know if they know this, but they take this shit for granted. A lot of us do. It's easy to, but like, especially folks, and not to just pick on a younger generation, but like, if you don't know anything else but what you have, and then you see them lobbying for all this other bullshit, that's like, dude, do you understand what people over in Afghanistan would do to be in your shoes?
Oh my God, man. Dude, man, dude, I know, like literally, like a kid came up to me, and that's what I'm talking about the water. Like a kid, I was on patrol. This is crazy because like I was on patrol in Iraq, and I was patrolling, and I was just like, man, it's been 15 hours. I'm hungry. I can't wait to open the MRE, and we had these like little like energy drinks or Rippets and like muffins or whatever. And like I know there was like some tray rats, and I was just like, yo, like first sergeant, I know in his office, I'm gonna grab me some of those tray rats, the ones with the canned meat or whatever, or chips or whatever, or like the good one, the good prepackaged meals, and I'm gonna get some of those when I get back. And man, it sucks. It's hot. I'm sweaty. I can't wait to get back, and I just want to eat and feed my face and be selfish. That's what I was thinking at the moment, right? I was selfish. And a lot of times they call me Mr. Chocolate and stuff or whatever, because I'm black. I look like a big chocolate bunny. And then I have my gun, and I have pin. They like pens. They like pens and pencils and stuff, and I have pins all on my flak jacket and stuff. And then so a little kid's coming up to me. First thought, I'm like, get away from me, kid, because I don't know what type of bomb or whatever they've strapped to you, whatever, unfortunately. But the kid came up to me. He's like, he looked up at me, and I saw he was like parched. His lips were cracked and white, and he said, water. Dude. So that's a contrast that, you know what I mean? I'm thinking so selfishly about my little snacks in the hooch. And he is like, I want clean water because there are dead bodies dumped in the Euphrates. What?
Jeez.
So
it's all about perspective, man.
So that kind of like changed, that changed my life and stuff. And I try to be more grateful. And sometimes I forget, you know what I mean? But like I try to use those stories to remind myself and be like, hey man, you're not that special, dude. There's somebody right now who just wants something to drink. You know what I'm saying? So like sometimes we got to humble ourselves and realize like the world's just bigger than America, man. America, a lot of times we think that, this is it. Like, no, there's more. Like, we got to do more. Like, we, at least appreciate everything that you have. Like, I don't care. Like, if I'm, eating a snack or eating a meal, man, I'm always thankful. I always say, my grace or whatever, or thank you or whatever religion anybody is or whatever. I like to say grace and be thankful for everything that I have, because I know, on the other side of the coin, as you know, like, it's not nice over there in Afghanistan. Like, there's people who are hungry, who are starving, who want real food, who have the reality of the danger is every day. They hear bullet shots every day. That's nothing to them. We don't have to hear that. You know what I mean? And we're here, we're streaming to each other from across the country. Like, what? Come on,
it's
man.
Magic. It's like literal magic. Think about that. Like, even doing this like 10 years ago or 20 years ago, we're in a new time, which is also, it's good. There's a lot of good about technology, like us having this like freedom to be able to do this stuff. But also there's a lot of bad. Like, for example, I feel like there's a lot of polarizing topics out there that, like, for example, like Twitter isn't conducive to discussing the Second Amendment, right? And today is fresh in our minds right now. I woke up this morning and I see the whole thing in New Zealand with the 40-some people killed. It is sad. And I literally weep today about it, man. But at the same time, I think everybody needs to have the humility on both sides to be like, obviously this is a touchy subject and obviously there's no clear-cut answer, but at the same time, like, I'm a steadfast Second Amendment dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah, obviously me too, if you heard anything.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so I wanted to get like your take on it, like, especially in this time, especially when you're living out on the West Coast where there's a lot, like, that's a very liberal like side of the United States. What is that like?
I just be me, man. Like, people respect it. You know what I mean? They'll end up respecting it. Like, they'll realize that it's not an act. I'm not trying to impose what I feel on somebody else. I'm not trying to tell them they can't protest, Even sometimes on my social media, I'll share some musician or I'll share somebody who I know once I share this that I will lose followers, but I don't care, because that's not what I'm not about. No, if you're going to unfollow me because I want to support my friend, or because you're supporting Muslims because of the shooting or whatever like that, or if you feel some type of way, or because of a situation you can't look at the human side of things, I don't need you as a follower anyway. You don't even like me anyway. You like what I'm saying, like, you don't even really like me, you know what I'm saying? So, like, it's something like that I have to realize, like, I can't do it for somebody else's approval. I have to do it because Ray really believes that in his heart. Oh, okay, well, hey, I feel like everybody should have the right to have a firearm if they want, or I feel, if your religion is, Muslim and you want to be Muslim, you could do that, whatever you want to do. My only thing is, like, don't tell me what I'm supposed to do. Don't tell me what freedom I'm supposed to be doing. You can do whatever. I want you to do anything you want. Go ahead, do it. As long as you ain't hurt nobody. Worship who you want, love who you want, shoot whatever gun you want, live where you want, all that stuff. You know what I mean? And especially because California's more liberal. Like, there's a lot more of that type of stuff. Like, I don't care, and people will be surprised. They're like, yo, like, you feel this way, but yet your friend, is like this, or they love this person, or they like guns, or they don't like guns, or they hate Trump, or they love Trump, or whatever. Like, if you don't like me because I'm not denouncing my friend because they feel a certain way politically, sexually, racially, or whatever it is, like, I don't need you around me anyway. I don't like that energy around me. Like, you don't see people going into an ice cream. This is a great analogy. You don't see people going into an ice cream parlor. You go in, right? And Clay's like, yo, I want some chocolate ice cream. And I'm like, I want some strawberry. And it was like, and the guy comes in and he's like, hey, why are you eating chocolate? It's like, that's my flavor, man. Like, what? Like, you don't see that in an ice cream parlor. So why do we do that in life? Like, who cares? Right, like,
and they go, I don't like chocolate, so you can't like chocolate. Yeah, that's the weirdest shit to me.
It's weird. Like, if you like Trump, if you hate Trump, if you like certain, if you're not hurting nobody, like, I don't care. Like, the main thing is, like, if you just treat each other with respect as human beings and be real to yourself and like what you like, and then that we're good. I can't even honestly tell you to do that. If you want to just, be hateful, whatever, that's you. I don't have to surround myself with you. But that's the way I look at it. It's just like they realize like I'm myself. For example, like I get I have black people that hate on me for the things I say. You can imagine, because I'm like, oh, America, I love America, and some people misconstrue it as, oh, I'm being a sellout, or I'm working for the man, or like, oh, I'm with the white folks, or whatever like that. It's just like, I'm with me. That's who I'm with. I'm with my family. I'm with people who are with me. So like, if white folks are rocking with me, yeah, I'm rocking with you. If black folks are rocking with me, I'm rocking with you. Like, I don't care what you look like. If you're cool and you dig the message and you dig what I'm rocking with, we rocking with each other. But like, you can't get mad at me or say I'm a sellout because of a certain reason, and you haven't even listened to me. Like, I had like an African come up to me and they're like, "Hey, I gotta ask you a question," and I'm telling you, like, was totally black. There was like, she wasn't like, her 23andMe would probably just say like 100% African. Like, it would say that, you know what I mean?
Right.
My 23andMe don't say that, unfortunately, because my history involves unfortunate slavery, and a lot of things happened by force. So obviously I'm not 100%. Like, I have some British blood in me because of that. Because, if you know your history, you know what happened to a lot of
part of your
people.
story. I mean,
part of the
you
story.
don't hide from it,
Yeah, I don't hide from it. But I'm very pro black, and I'm proud to be black. But I'm proud of America too. And so she's like, "Hey, just have to ask you a question." And I'm just like, "What's up?" She's like, and I'm telling you, 100% black. Her clothes look like she made them. And when I say she made them, not that the craftsmanship wasn't there, because the craftsmanship was there, but it looked like she did not buy into brands or companies or big corporations that she did not believe in. You know what I mean? Like, she's wearing sandals, she's wearing very, very well woven, well knit clothing. And she was like, "Hey, why are you wearing that American flag leather jacket?" And I'm just like, "Yeah." And I said,
Wow.
"Because we made it." And then she's like, "What?" I said, "Because we made it." And she's just like, she was like floored, dude. She was like, "Whoa, I've never thought of it like." When I tell black people that, they're just like, "Yo," they're like, "Yo, I've never thought of it like that."
You know what? If that was a Twitter discussion, y'all would never have even gotten to that perspective getting point, because she would have blocked you and shut you down before you even had a chance to respond. You know what I mean?
We made it. Hashtag America. Period. She could block me after that, but she can't. But people. When I say like we literally made it, and then there's the argument that goes, "Oh, well, there was bad people who did bad things and then like waved the American flag, right?" Obviously that happened too, and they've done it with a lot of things. But like, are you going to denounce everything that was in the wrong hands? There's a lot of people who push hate speech over this microphone and over Google Hangout. You're going to denounce Google Hangout because a white supremacist used that? You know what I'm saying? Are you gonna what are you gonna do? Like, you have to throw everything away, man. Oh, it's not made in America. It's not like, what are you going to do? Like, honestly, what are you going to do? Like, you just have to go back to the essence of like, a person made this because they were talking about uniting everything. That's what they were talking about. And like people made it with love. They didn't make it with hate. You know what I'm saying? Now if they're waving a Nazi flag, that's a little different story, because it was made to inflict pain and hate, and say somebody's more superior. That's a little bit different. But there's some things that, unfortunately, we can't, totally exactly separate from the actual main thing, because unfortunately there was bad people who did bad things. Like, there was a guy who interrupted a black family's birthday party. They weren't doing anything in the South. And he had an American flag, and he had a Marine Corps, you know what I'm talking about? An American flag, and he had a Marine Corps flag, and he was like driving around hooping and hollering. And
he went to jail, didn't he?
Yeah, they both went to jail, bro.
And
they deserve to be there. They're still there. The husband and wife, they deserve to be there because, one, they were breaking the law. It doesn't matter. You can separate. It doesn't matter what you feel like racially. Like, you can take away from it. They were trespassing. They were on somebody else's property. The black family were doing nothing wrong. They're having a cookout for their family, minding their own business, and they terrorized the little children. And he had the Marine Corps flag, and he had the American flag. That dude's a douche. That dude's a douche. But do we throw away the Marine Corps flag?
No, absolutely not.
You get what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, So it's kind of like situations like that, and those guys are in jail where they need to be, because they should be. But it's just like sometimes you got to separate some things, and it's hard. But you just have to, say how it is, and that's why I brought up my argument. Hey, I look at it this way. That's how it is. Unfortunately, things happen in the past. If we're cool, I mess with you. If we're not cool, I don't mess with you, and that's what it is. I don't care what you look like. If we're cool, we're cool, and you just know it. And I just tell my story, and I say it's true to me, and then like people end up gravitating towards me because they're like, wow, he hasn't changed for anything. He hasn't really. I can be liberal, I can be conservative, I can be moderate, I could be myself around him, and he's pretty much the same thing. He has his beliefs or whatever. I can disagree or agree, but that's what it is, and that's how I deal with it. It's a long-winded answer to what you asked me about, how do I deal with going to different circumstances. And that's how I deal with it. Like I was stationed in Texas too, and unfortunately there was like sundown towns and things where I was not supposed to be, you know what I mean? But my Marine Corps uniform saved my ass a lot of times because they realized they're like, hey, he's not, unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there who have a misrepresentation of certain races and certain people, but they looked at me as like an upstanding gentleman with my uniform, and they saw, I came back from deployment, and they're just like, hey, unfortunately, like, you got to keep it moving through this area because we have some people who do not understand this still in 2014. Unfortunately, a damn shame.
It's crazy, man. And I'll tell you what, people are going to continue to gravitate towards you as long as you keep grinding. It's going to happen,
It is what it is. And they don't have to. I mean, you could live your life. You could do your own thing. I don't care. But I'm going to just be me. And as long as they want to be them, they could be them. If they want to chop it up and, I want everybody to get along, and it sucks taking the Martin Luther King approach as opposed to the Malcolm X approach. You want to, a lot of times I struggle like inside of me, like, even in my music, you'll hear it. They're like, whoa, that's a little Malcolm X right there. Little like more extreme. And then you'll hear
you're expressing yourself and like you say, as long as you're not inciting like actual violence. I mean, that's the beautiful part about America. First Amendment right there. And it seems like we're in a time right now where that's under fire even. So
yeah. Oh no, I that's not. I meant in the term of like, I just want to be more extreme and be more aggressive and do things like that. Because I do have that side because, we're Marines. We want to just take charge and like, yo, man, like forget all this kumbaya stuff, man. Hey, if you're on my side, you're on my side. If you ain't, get out of here. You know what I mean? Like that type of stuff. Right. But then comes in the, the empathy and the understanding and the compassion for individuals and at minimum level, like just the discipline and be like, at least I can be disciplined enough to be like, I agree to disagree. You know what I mean? You have your thing, I have my thing, and that's what it is. And I feel like we need to learn a lot from the world because the rest of the world, they have a lot of love for people. But I feel like in America, that's something that we could work on.
So. Yeah, man, we're getting there, man. Well, I'll tell you what, you're a gentleman and a scholar and a patriot. Now we're going to go into the plug zone real quick. Where can people find you on social media and where can they find your music?
Yo, what's up? It's the Marine Rapper. You can find me everywhere at the Marine Rapper. Why? Because I learned a lot in marketing school and in the Marine Corps. Because everything needs to be the same. If all you guys out there, like if you're starting brands, podcasts, whatever, just make it the same, man. Like a lot of times, like even without social media or whatever it is, they go, hey, how can I find you? I go, at the Marine Rapper, the Marine Rapper. If you just Google it, like literally you can Google me. I'm the only one and I'll pop up. I simplify it for that reason. Like you can find me at the Marine Rapper. Just dropped a new album. It's called Heart America. And it's about that. It's about like Heart America. The meaning is like, it's about I Heart America, you Heart America, we Heart America. That's why I named it Heart America. And I always put my like TMR, my name in the title. So I always hide it in the actual album title. Like one of my albums called Night America. The other one's called Heart America. But if you look in the actual title, you'll see TMR in there. It's just like a little thing that I like to put because like it's just the artistry again. I like to put that in there. But just know that like when you're getting like a piece of art, a song, whatever, like I put my heart in there. Like even like some of the features, like when we're writing in the Marine Corps as a combat reporter, like some of them, they rhyme. People don't know that, but like I made them rhyme because I was bored. And I just did because I'm writing hundreds of stories and they're like, how many patrol stories can you write? You know what I mean?
Damn.
So I did stuff like that, and like, and sometimes I'll put some terms in there that like only Marines know, just because, just for fun. I'll talk about ripets and dip and all that stuff, and like MREs and like Otis Spunkmeyer. Oh, and then people who know Afghanistan and stuff. But because I like to give back and like give like, it's like the little toy at the bottom of the cereal. You know what I mean?
That's cool, man.
And
And,
like
and Spotify, you got Spotify, right? So it's
I'm
Spotify
on
and
everywhere.
iTunes, everywhere. Cool.
You can find me everywhere at the Marine Rapper. You can hit me up anytime if you guys want to hit me up. Like, you'll be surprised, man. Everybody hits me up. Like,
Oh no, I know. I feel it. I feel it still. It's been like 2 years since I've made Marine Corps videos. And I still get questions every day. So
and they'll be like, "Hey, like, what do I do? I'm about to go to boot camp," or
yeah.
you know how it goes. Or like, and then the other ones, I love the other ones. When they go, "Hey, man, I'm feeling down in the dumps," or whatever. Some of the PTSD or stuff like that. Those questions, obviously, that's anonymous, but like some of those things, I love those too, because it gives me an opportunity to like open the dialogue and talk to individuals, because I've been there. You know what I mean? It's hard, like, especially when so much was expected of you, and you felt like you reached the pinnacle in the Marine Corps, the military, or whatever, and then you get out, and then it's like you're just Ray or whoever you are, and people don't really care. They're just like, "Yo, you're just I don't." And who are you? You know what I mean? You don't look like how you look anymore. You have a beard now and stuff like that. And then you want to say, "Don't you know what I've done?" And I've done, whatever. But nobody cares about that. So it's like, it's hard. When you get out, you have to find your purpose. So I always run into a lot of individuals who go through a lot of PTSD situations, and they feel down in the dumps. But that's why I make the music that I make. Like, there's a song called "So We Can Live," a song that I made called "See We Could Live," and that's important to me because I literally shout out the people who died on my first deployment, and I say, "Hey, they died so we could live." And I was in Hollywood on The Price is Right, and I stood up. And everybody's trying to get Drew Carey's attention, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this is in the bag, because I knew Drew Carey is a Marine, right? And I know nobody's not going to do what I'm about to do. And so I go, "Hey, Drew, hoorah," like that. And he goes, snaps. You know what I mean? Like, what? He goes, "What?" He's like, "Hoorah." He's like, "What's that? We got a devil dog?" And I was just like, "Yeah." He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "So what's your name?" And I'm like, "Ray," And I was like, "But I got the Marine Rapper." He's like, "Oh, rapper, huh?" He's all, "But why'd you come to Hollywood?" I was like, "To do music." He's like, "Really?" He's like, "Are you any good?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "But are you like serious? Like, do you have anything online?" I was like, "Yeah, it's on Spotify everywhere," And I'm like talking to him, and unbeknownst to me, behind me is where the DJ booth is. I didn't know it. And so the DJ pulls up my song called "So We Could Live" through the whole, So Drew Carey plays my song "So We Could Live" to all of Price is Right.
You can't make this stuff up. That's
you can't.
crazy,
You can't. No, you can't. You can't. So like, I was just like, "Yeah, what?" And I was like, I froze. I didn't even know what to do, because I was just like, I wanted to like cry or something. Like, I was like, because it's like Drew Carey's like, one of our heroes as a Marine, and then he's playing my song, and like, so, I got out the Marine Corps and I wanted validation from, like, my most important validation, honestly, is from Marines. I want them to be like, "Yup, that's exactly how it is. Yup, you're right. And thank you." You know what I mean? Like, I want that validation for them to be like, not to so much thank me, but to more so say it's true. You know what I'm saying? So because some civilian could be like, "Oh, that's cool. He's talking about some cool stuff." But like, if somebody who like was right there on the left or the right of you, or went through the Marine Corps at some point in time, is like, "No, that what he's saying is exactly right. That's exactly how it is." It's kind of like Full Metal Jacket. We watch Full Metal Jacket and we're like, "Yep, that's it. That's exactly how it is."
I'm telling you what, man, you're doing God's work, man. I'm dead serious. I'm not even being a little bit facetious. Like, you are in your own right documenting that period in your life. So I think it's amazing.
Thank you. I
What you're
appreciate
doing,
it.
man. Yeah, man. Well, I'll tell you what, I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to chat with us a little bit.
Of course.
I got my girlfriend coming over here a little bit. Yeah, it seems like a pretty good time to wrap it up. Last little tidbit. If you had one piece of advice to give somebody, whether they're at that point where they're about to go into the Marine Corps, whether they're at that point where they're just leaving the Marine Corps, what is that one special sauce that you would recommend to somebody to keep them going?
If you're about to get out the Marine Corps and you need some motivation to keep you going, I would say the motivation to keep you going should be legacy. Because that Marine Corps is not the end of your legacy. That's just a part of it. Like, you have great stuff in the future for you, whether it's the Marine Corps or any other service. Like, you did some great stuff in the military for your country, for other people. And that was just one part that shows that, hey, you did one of the most difficult things that a lot of people, weren't man or woman enough to do. And that alone is a feat. So you did the hard part. Now it's like the victory lap in your life. You can go and write a book, or do a blog, a vlog, a radio
Reinvent
show,
yourself.
reinvent yourself.
Go to school.
Go to school, man. Like, especially if they're, the government's paying for it, man. You better get that school. They want you to get educated. They want you to take these benefits. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. A lot of times we feel like, oh, I don't want to get my rating, or I don't want to get my education because I don't want to take from somebody else. No, don't work the system if you're not hurt or you're not eligible or nothing like that. Don't do that. That's not what I'm saying. Like, but say, hey, doc, is there anything wrong with me? Is there anything bone or something out of place? Or is there anything that you foresee to where I may need a disability for in the future when I am old and I can't take care of myself? That's what I did. I have two deployments under my belt, and I have, that the pack was wearing down on me. And then I also took care of my education, and I made sure I took care of all my education. So if you're out there, make sure you get your education, make sure you get your medical, make sure you stay motivated, make sure you stay connected, and make sure you stay connected to individuals who want to stay connected to you. Maybe there might not be, everybody's not going to want to like hang out with you after the Marine Corps, or the military. Sad but true, bro, or sis. Like, they liked you, or they interacted with you because you guys had the same job. But sometimes you just grow apart, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. But connect with the people who do connect with you, who are in media, who are in sports, who are in woodworking, whatever it is, and just stay connected to them. Have a support network, get your education, get your medical benefits, and just keep going. And then reach out to individuals if you need help, and you're going to be perfectly fine, and you're going to do great. Just realize that you're doing this for legacy, and no one can stop you if you stay motivated and you stay disciplined. And don't be too good to ask for help.
That's great advice, man.
But
well,
the Marine Rapper out.
The Marine Rapper. Make sure you guys follow him. Make sure you guys check him out on Spotify and anywhere else you get music. And Raymond, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for taking the time.
Appreciate you too, bro.